everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. So glad to be back with you live once again, coming to you from the Mile High city of Denver, Colorado on this beautiful October the 8th, 2022. If you didn't get into the live stream for one reason or another, make sure you hit that bell notification, all that good stuff. Hopefully we're doing this early enough that we can get our friends in the EMEA region. But if not, make sure that you have that bell tagged and you've got notifications turned on your device. All of that good stuff so you don't miss us live. Sit back and enjoy the replay. They have the chat replay enabled so you can go in and watch those chats come in. You can also comment on this video as well. Kind of weird hair. For some reason, the fan's blowing it today. Decided to shave when we got back. Sometimes the beard gets annoying to me. Like, I'll have it for a while, like it. Most people think it looks better on me than not. But then it'll just start really driving me crazy. If you ever had a beard, you'll know what I mean. And I have to shave it to a level. I don't bick it because it's not good. I mean, there's contours and things that need to be hidden, and a beard is a perfect thing for that. So we need to grow it again pretty quick. Hello from Cincinnati, says John Franks. Welcome in. Welcome in. And I don't know if you guys are following the MLB postseason, which I am, probably for the first time in 10, 15 years, but it's been fun to see kind of how this is shaken down. One of my favorite YouTubers, Adam the Woo, is in Cleveland for a playoff run between the Guardians and the Tampa Bay Rays. I think they're playing right now. In fact, they might have just finished. Don't tell me the score because I want to watch. I love watching those MLB replays they have on the MLB channel where you can go in and see an entire game in like 10 minutes. That's really, really, really nice. 6 folks here, 2 thumbs up. Smash that thumbs in on the way in the door and give me a shout out if you wouldn't mind. Howdy for Texas, Gunmetal Guy USA. Nice. Yeah, we just got back from Texas. It was a great trip, as always. We go down to the Houston area to visit family every so often. I think we went 3 times last year. And we went once this year, and we don't know what the future holds other than we will be back, hopefully sooner than later. But that's a big town, like 3rd or 4th largest city in the United States. And it shows. Like the first time I really got the sense of how big it was is we were driving in and the sign said, welcome to Houston city limit or something like that. And it's, just, a lot of city, a lot of people and all that stuff. And then about a half an hour, maybe even 45 minutes later, I look up and I see the downtown on the horizon. I'm like, what? We've been in Houston for like 45 minutes and we're just now seeing on the horizon, the downtown, the center of the town. Massive, unbelievably massive. Also, having traveled to a bunch of different U.S. cities, it's interesting to me how different cities do traffic totally different than other places. Like if you go to Detroit, the highway systems are set up completely different than if you go to LA, than if you go to Houston. What strikes me as interesting and pretty cool about the Houston traffic system is that they have built-in U-turns on every intersection, where if you're coming off the off-ramp of a highway and you get down to the bottom of the off-ramp, right before the intersection, there's a dedicated lane U-turning back onto the highway the other direction, which is really, really interesting. And the reason why they do it, I believe, is because another interesting characteristic of Houston roadways is that all the roads, most like LA, where almost everything is a highway. And then next to the highway, they have 2 or 3 lane thoroughfares next to the highways. So the highway is really 3 roads. And you could call it a frontage road, but it's more than that because those roads have their own exits and ramps and all this stuff. Very, very unique. So, the way you get around is a completely different style than it is here in Denver. Denver's is much more basic. But anyway, we're not here to talk about traffic. We're here to talk about records. And specifically, we're here to talk about Halloween records. Now, admittedly, I'm a Christmas guy. And Halloween, I love Halloween because to me, it's like the first stage of the holidays culminating with Christmas. And I've always loved Halloween. And even though my mom really didn't like us getting too into it, but I loved it. I loved it absolutely. And my dad was really good about making sure that we, carved pumpkins, had costumes, trick or treated, all that good stuff. And we've carried that on to our kids and now their kids. It's getting old really quick here. And so, yeah, I like Halloween. I have really good memories of just, fall settling in, being in school and having fall themed parties or Halloween parties in school as a grade school student, and all the decorations, the ghosts, the pumpkins, and coloring pages, and just a lot of fun. Obviously, trick or treating. Our church usually had some sort of harvest festival or something we would go to as well. So a lot of good memories there. And we're doing Vlogtober. So this is our Vlogtober. Remember Vlogmas, which we've done in the past, where it's a video every day during the month of December for Christmas until Christmas Day. We're doing it early. We're doing Vlogtober. And instead of just doing a bunch of Halloween events, we're really keeping it focused on vinyl, records, all that good stuff, but with a flavor of Halloween here and there in October and fall here and there. So one thing we've learned from our audience is you guys want to keep on topic. You don't like to veer off of topic. So when you come to Record-ology, you want to talk about records. You want to be talking about other stuff. So I get that. Makes it a little tricky to provide daily content for an entire month. But nevertheless, we're going to do that. So like I said, it's been a good week now because it's the 8th. We're going to do something. It's either going to be a live, a short, or a full video. And if you have been watching the channel over the past few days, you will note that we have been doing an extensive amount of pretty dang good content that I'm pretty proud of. I am still reeling from the tour with Kurt Knock in what he calls Fort Knox, his bunker, as it were. It's nondescript building with no signage, no nothing to let you know what's on the inside. And then there's this amazing archive. And he says it's not a museum, but it is to a degree because they have a lot of things on display there. And 78rpm.com, his website. They got another auction coming up. In fact, I think I took it into a different part of the house, but I've got a hard copy of the catalog that he gave us, and it looks cool. I think I'm going to bid on some stuff. It'll be fun. Minimum bid $3, which is not bad because all his stuff is like pristine condition, usually pretty rare, pretty interesting. But some of the stuff that we were seeing, I just couldn't believe it. He pulls this trunk out and he's like, "Here are the very first sound recordings ever made in Africa." It's like, what? There are tribal kings on here from like 125 years ago. Just that kind of stuff where it's like, you're not prepared. Like, what do how do you, I didn't know that existed. I didn't even know that existed to get excited about. Gunmetal Guy USA says, if you ever are forced to go downtown traffic in Dallas, pack a small snack, right? No, we did the Dallas Fort Worth thing probably about 10 years ago now. I had a business trip down there. And I remember, a quick aside here. I remember I got sick right before we went. We were in Vegas right before the trip to Dallas. And by the time I made it out to Dallas, both my wife and I were both having a cold pretty bad. So fever, all that stuff, just felt miserable. And we're driving around, wanted to check out certain historical sites, some of the JFK stuff, which is surreal to be there after seeing the footage and reading the history, and then to be in that space is a surreal, sad experience. But the whole town, it's pretty dense traffic wise, and how it kind of blends from Dallas into Fort Worth, also very, very interesting. But the whole trip felt like a fever dream because of the fever. So got to go back under better circumstances. On topic, sorta, do you think the ability to find a viable turntable on Craigslist for collecting is becoming less likely? That's a good question. And what I asked Kurt a similar question when I was out there. I said, is this thing dying off? And when I say this thing, I was talking specifically about collecting antique records, vintage phonographs, and cylinder phonographs, and cylinders, and old records, diamond discs. And he says, no, it's actually growing, which is interesting, which means there's a shift. We're long past the people that were into it the original time around for antiques, because they're long gone by now. And even their children are largely gone, because we're talking 1890s to like 1950 was like the era of antique disc and cylindrical records. And it surprisingly, it keeps getting handed down now. Less and less people are, you would think, would be getting into it, but somehow the hobby grows. I think it's people like me that, um, because I started, at one place within the vinyl record collecting world and got interested in another thing and another thing, one thing led to another. It brought me into a place of appreciating that. And I would say, to answer your question, viable turntables for regular vinyl record collecting, things like this, you think to yourself, well, there must just be a finite amount of them out there, and there are, but I still think that there's thousands or millions that are. Hey Google, stop. Just starts playing random songs. Okay, that was weird. That was really weird. Happens to me sometimes in meetings. All of a sudden, I'll be sitting here and the thing will start playing music. But there's got to be thousands upon thousands of record players that are still buried in garages and covered in dust and undiscovered that will come to light. One of the things I think is a good evidence for this is the fact that vintage wind-up phonographs. Most people, when they find one, which is a surprisingly amount of people, I would say, that find those, initial thought is, and mine was too, this thing must be worth, incredible. I have a phonograph, this must be worth so much, thinking it's worth $12,000. And you'll see people price them like that. Come to find out, even if it's a Victrola or Edison diamond disc, it's $200, $400, which is a considerable amount of money, but it's reasonable. And that's because they made millions of them. They made millions of them. So I would say that, more will continue to come. Overall, when it comes to the specific platform, I feel like Craigslist, and it's sort of stationary. For a while, I felt like Craigslist was kind of fading away because there's a lot of negative publicity of the crazies out there and people getting hurt in meetups and stuff, which is sad, and scary. So I feel like Facebook Marketplace has become a better option for a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of stuff. If you haven't checked out Facebook Marketplace, do so. One thing I think that keeps it a little bit safer, and I don't want to say, I don't know the numbers, I don't know if it truly is, but my perception is that it's a bit safer. And if that is the case, I would attribute it to the fact that you can't hide behind an anonymous email like you can on Craigslist. Your profile's available to when you're interacting with somebody on a purchase or a sale. So I think that accountability leads to people being a little bit more trustworthy. I've decided it's a little hard to. You still got to do your due diligence. If the profile was created, yesterday and there's no post, then you may say, this looks a little sketchy. Sadly, not enough people, do their due diligence on stuff, and incidents happen, which is sad. But so I feel like Facebook is growing. I also like Mercari. I don't know if you use that app, Mercari, specifically for records. There's a lot of good stuff on Mercari, and it's basically a site for people that are cleaning out their garage and, hey, I didn't know I had this. I'm going to sell this. Got some great deals on there. You can negotiate. I haven't sold anything on there yet, but anyway, those are a couple of things that I do. Randy says, I actually have a vinyl record recording of my great-great-grandpa singing a 78 RPM record that's home recorded. That's amazing. That is so cool. Home recordings are fantastic. One of the records I was talking to Kurt about was I think he was putting it in this current auction, a bunch of home recorded cylinders, 1906, I want to say. And they had a little girl there that was doing a recital or something, and she was talking about going to the World's Fair that year. It's very historic stuff. So I love that stuff. Absolutely. Home recorded discs are, to me, some of the most interesting. I've got one of my uncle having a clarinet lesson in the 50s on a putrid smelling, I don't know if it's an acetate. It smells like Magic Marker record. If you don't keep it tightly sleeved, it just reeks like it smells like a magic marker under your nose. It's really, really weird. Monster Mash, my favorite Halloween record. There you go. It should be out of Facebook channel. I'm sure there's a story behind there. Okay, so Halloween records. All that to say this, I don't have a whole ton of them, so a few of these are a stretch. This one, I think we can agree, though, is solidly in the wheelhouse of a Halloween record. I keep visualizing everybody's going to come in here and be like, "Whoa, Alice Cooper and all this death metal and things and rock." I'm taking it a different direction, as you would, probably assume that I would. So here we go. Casper the Friendly Ghost. How about that? Remember Caillou? If you have kids that are, teenagers or a little older than that now, Caillou. And that looks like Caillou to me. Kind of funny, but that is Casper the Ghost. That's the early rendition of what Casper looks like. This is a golden record. I think this is a 6-inch record, probably a vinylite material, 78 RPM from the 50s. And if I look on here, manufactured in the USA by the Sandpiper Press, distributed by Simon & Schuster. And then it has a trademark. This is R61A. Golden Records, Casper the Friendly Ghost. Now, interesting, a lot of these kids' records will have a completely different title on the flip side, but this one continues it on with another caricature of Casper there, getting his groove on, and this side is the Little Ghost's Dance. One thing I took away from my trip to Dallas was that Dallas? I didn't even go to Dallas. One thing I let's just pause for a minute. One thing I took out of our trip to Houston was the fact that my 78 RPM game is not where it needs to be. I've got 2 record players in here that are set up. I got others that are down here not set up. But I don't have anything that can play a 78 on it. Sadly, this thing is the perfect turntable, except it can't play 78s. It's a 2-speed turntable. This Crosley C200 direct drive is wonderful. It's the poor man's version of the LP120, except for the fact it doesn't have that 3rd speed. It doesn't have that 3rd speed. I really regret selling my 120. I really, really, really do. I would love to get a 140 so I could get not only the 3rd speed, but the VTA adjustment on there. Would love to have one of those. So my ability to play 78s right now is somewhat hampered. Here's how I can do it. I can play it on the phonograph. It's just not conducive to, hey, I want to go listen to a record. You know what I mean? Especially if it's an electrically recorded record or something like this. That phonograph tracks at 170 grams. You know what I mean? Even antique vinylite like this, you're not going to put 170 grams on, and it's not orthophonic. So I'm not supposed to be playing electrical recordings on there. I'm supposed to be doing acoustic only, but I want to play. My interest in 78s is probably more so in the post-acoustic era. So my thin mica diaphragm on that reproducer could give way at any moment. So I've got that. I've also got I've got a bunch of suitcase players and things with the 3rd speed. However, I don't have the proper needle for any of those. I don't have the proper stylus for any of those. So that's not a great option for daily, because I'd like to have something in here. This will be the next one to go. This is not going anytime soon. This is going to be the next one to go, not to be sold necessarily, but to go into storage and replace with something. But I want that something to play 78s. I've got obviously the very automatic and the very manual to choose from, depending on how the mood is striking me for playing records that day. And so I've got another option I've got is the classroom record player, which is probably my best option because it's got the flip stylus and it's actually got the appropriate 3mm styli on there. So I can play the groove the way it's supposed to be played. It's got a relatively low tracking force. You can play anything from acoustic to orthophonic, and certainly kids' records from the 50s that are 78 RPM as well. The downside to that is it's clunky, it's big, it's a industrial piece of public school classroom equipment. In a pinch, it could work. If I would put that in here, and I've thought about it, I'd probably move this down to here and then put it up there. That would probably be the best option I've got right now. So, but I would like to take it a step further and get something that's a little bit better. Now, I say I have no way to play them, and I just listed off like 10 ways. I need a Gerard with a flip over stylus. And it sounds good, Gary, to me. But yeah, I've definitely got some options, but I would like better options. These are happy problems. You know what I mean? We're just talking about silly stuff at this point. I get that. Okay, so first Halloween record, Casper the Friendly Ghost. Tell me yours, obviously, in the comments. I want to know what your guys' favorite Halloween-ish records are. Get caught up on comments. I used to love going to the library and getting National Geographics and getting the flimsy records out and playing them. Yes, how right you are. I've got a whole section of flexi discs. I remember as a kid going through to find the whale one and feeling like, and I probably found that thing 3 or 4 times. I don't know why I thought it was okay to snap it out of the library's copy, but I remember that whale. I don't have the whale record. I've got probably, I did a community post about maybe 2 weeks ago showing I probably have 15 flexi discs. I love them. In fact, one of you guys sent me the biggest flexi disc I've ever seen. I keep looking over here because I've got part of the storeroom, part of the collection is over here. And I remember somebody sent us these big, cardboard binder kind of thing, bird sounds. Like there were bird recordings, and they were in these giant, either 10 or 12-inch flexi discs. Very, very cool. Brian says, "Have you seen the new Victrola respin?" Yes, disappointed they went with the they went with the ceramic cartridge. I'm probably never going to see that one because Victrola is not speaking to me. They're still not pleased with my review, which is fine. That's okay. I'm keeping it honest, keeping it real. And then also they just came out with $1,000 record player. Somebody sent that to me in the comments this morning. They have $1,000 record player. Let's pull it up here. It looks cool. I had $1,000 to spend on a record player. I don't know if I would buy this. It's called the Victrola Stream Carbon, and it streams out to Sonos. It's got a Ortofon 2M Red. I would love to get my hands on it. I would love to, but they're just not in the mood to do that. By the way, I do love the style of that new suitcase player, and I know who's behind all of this stuff. It's a guy that I had worked with for several years on this their new launch. Not I say worked with. We were available to review anything they came up with. But the Respin Bluetooth suitcase player with the ceramic is, a ceramic can be okay, but it's not going to be as good as magnetic. Now, what I will say, and how much they want for that thing? Hold on, this could make it break it right here. It's $100. Kind of hard to justify $100 for a ceramic, right? I will say this: the Revolution Go portable, the rechargeable portable thing with the guitar strap, the amazing soundbar on the front, the magnetic cartridge, albeit fixed, but it's a magnetic cartridge available in 5 cool colors. Double the cost, but that thing is 100% recommended. The only flaw with that record player is it's flimsy. It's you drop it once, it's going to disintegrate. It's not rugged whatsoever. However, if you baby it, wouldn't be good for kids or even teenagers. But if you baby it, it's a fantastic turntable. I had it out this morning. I was trying to impress my wife. She has came with this. She's like, "Hey, do you have a Rockin' Robin on vinyl?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think I do. I have a K-Tel compilation." And I had that thing within 30 seconds playing it. It's pretty impressive, I thought. I think she was impressed. I hope so. I always look for those wins, you know what I mean? $200 for that one. But this new thing, the Victrola Stream Carbon, they're really into the wireless turntable thing. Okay, so it's $800. It's not $1,000. It looks cool. I hope it's better be all metal for that price. It's hard to tell if the platter is plastic or not, but it better not be plastic for that price. It's very thin, very small little thing. It's got a straight tone arm with an angled head shell. I'd probably prefer to have a J-shaped or S-shaped tone arm. It's got that stupid dust cover thing that they put on that last one. That's like flat on the platter and then goes over the tone arm. I think they're just trying to look fancy. Kind of dumb looking. Hope they're not watching today. They're definitely not getting one. But again, it's $800. This is the same price now as the LP7. I think I would take the LP7 back all day. It looks cool though. It does look cool. But I know Victrola is an entry-level brand. So that's something to consider. So brand equity is a thing. You know what I mean? It's why I think Crosley couldn't compete with the Project stuff, even though they had rebranded Project turntables, the C10 and C20. But, you know, when people go to spend that kind of money, they don't want it to say Crosley on it. You know, Crosley can own and dominate the entry level and mid-range, but and I think that that's something that they realize. And I think the same thing goes for Victrola. They're lifestyle brands. They're I don't want to say they're form over function, but their priorities have always been with styling aesthetic. They have people on staff that know the trending colors that are coming out. Those aren't just random, like, I just have a blue one, a purple one, a green one. No, they know what's trending, right? They know this. They have people that are very in tune with the style aspect of lifestyle brands and what's cool, what's in, what's trendy. And then on the back end, they work with their Chinese partners to get product that, you know, can be made to that standard. And no, it's not just slap their name on Chinese equipment. You know, they do design work. They have impact on those products. They work with manufacturers. For instance, we've talked all the time about hand pin turntables, making the LP120, LP140, a lot of the Audio-Technica stuff, and then the Crosley C100 and C200, like this one. But if you go to Handpin's website, you'll see the base models that are similar, but not quite. And you won't see the LP120 quite. That's because they manufacture these products, but not all of them are just off the shelf. You know, there is a design specification for an Audio-Technica LP120 that shares components, parts, and pieces and design aesthetic with Crosley C100, but it's not identical. So there you go. Wow, I really veered off topic. All right, back on topic. Wow, comments are happening, and I'm just going on and on. Caught up here on comments. They made a Casper Kitty record. I'm going to have to find it. Yeah, that was a cool one. Stay tuned. More on that topic soon. John says, both my turntables play 78, and I have a Stylite for 78 for both. But ideas for 16 2/3. So the Seeburgs are, and there's, you know, talking book records and things spin at weird speeds, like 8 RPM, 16 2/3. I have 2 record players that will spin. Oh, and that's another one for 78s. We'll spin 16 and we'll spin 78s, and that is my BSR thing, the Gerard? No, Glenburn. The Glenburn has 4 speeds, so it has 16 and 2/3. And you, for the most part, the style I needed for the Seeburgs is a little different. It's not quite a micro groove. It's a little bit different. You can get away with a micro groove and no problem. But to get those sounding their best, you need a special stylus, which I have for my other 4-speed turntable, which is that Classroom unit. That'll do the 16s as well. What about Halloween cereal box records? That's a great question. And I've got some cereal box records, but not a Halloween one. Isn't there a turntable that costs $250,000? Oh, yeah. It's probably made by VPI. But there are those out there. And you know what? The turntable that costs $150,000 is junk to the people that have the $250,000 one. It's all relative. It's all relative. It's just relative. It spins a piece of plastic. That's what a record player does. It's all about the cartridge. That's why it gets me when I see these record players that they sell, various companies sell, and there's so much to do about so many items, you know, features, and design, and then it has like a $4 cartridge on there, which is the most important part. Rockin' Robin, I'm 45. I don't have a single of it. I need it. I don't think I have a single of it. Gary says that's why Toyota have Lexus, Panasonic have Technics. You never see a Rolls Royce on a breakdown truck. They always cover them up. Yeah, right. And that's a good point. Yeah, I could go all day on the Toyota, has Lexus, Chevy has Cadillac, Honda has Acura. Every brand has a premium brand. A lot of brands do, and it's the same thing for records too. The parent company of Fluence doesn't like me talking about their value brand, just like the parent company of the value brand doesn't like me talking about Fluence in the same sentence because they like to keep it separate. I love to pull the cover off. To use that analogy, I love to know how that works. A lot of shared components. Absolutely. Sometimes the same basic vehicle with a different rebranding. And I remember we were shopping for cars once, and I was in a Lincoln, which is Ford's premium brand. I was in a Lincoln SUV of some sort. And I said, "Isn't this a Ford Escape with the different badge?" He's like, "Yeah, but it's not just the badge and the interior and the minor exterior things. They actually do have different components. Like there's different insulation and stuff. So there is that." What's a good 78 stylus for the Audio Technica LP60 on a budget? That's a good question. There is one. Let me see if I can find it. You guys will probably find it faster than me. I need to do that. Although LP60 is only 2 speeds, isn't it? Or is it 3 speeds? I don't remember. Did I play 78s? That's another good option too if it is. I wish I had the 10-inch setting for the needle drop. Okay, 78 style. That's 4 LP 3600. Okay, so it's called an ATN. Let's see. Okay, so it's called a 4211-D3. It's about $30 on eBay. It's 26 on Bonanza. Yeah. So it costs a little bit. I think I've seen them used or new old stock for as cheap as like maybe 20. But yeah, you're gonna have to pay a little bit for that. What's happening to your LP3? You love that turntable, says James. I do. Sad story with my LP3. I still have it. I can't bring myself to get rid of it. Will I bring it out here again? Not for the time being. Here's why. When I got this, it did everything that I loved about my LP3 pretty much. It was automatic. It was sleek. It was simple. It had the ability to upgrade the cartridge and set the counterbalance. And it added the capability of a changer, which was really, really cool. And it added the capability of the strobe, which I love the strobe. But you'll notice both these have the strobe. That's because to me, the speed accuracy is huge. And an LP3 is going to be using the JYK motor. I've got this thing set up just specifically for every show that I say this, and then I hold it up, and it makes a great visual unless I lose it. The little JYK motors and the suitcase players and stuff, it's got that same motor, which, it's not a perfect motor. And without any speed control on the LP3, you kind of have to hope that it's right. And so I have checked the speed on it, and the speed is a tad bit off on it. Now you can go in with a tweaker tool and adjust it, which is a pain. And then you wonder, if you're like me, you start obsessing about, did you get it right? Is it a tad fast, a tad slow? Whereas this, I can set this and look at it and immediately adjust it to perfect, rock steady, solid, and it's good to go. So that was one aspect. So that's why this won out. The ability to, make sure speed was absolutely perfect. And the other thing was, while in storage at an offsite storage facility, hold on, I'm getting a text. Interesting. I dropped it. It dropped from about a little over elbow height, not quite as low as waist height. And I cracked I dropped, wait, no, I didn't. Did I drop it? Okay, I think I either dropped something on it or I dropped it. Anyway, I cracked the dust cover. So it needs a new dust cover. I can't sit here with a cracked dust cover. I can't do that. It will either have to come all the way off, which I could do that. Then it would be, I'd be like paranoid that something was going to fall on it or it would get dusty. So until I get that sorted, I probably won't be using it. That being said, I love it. I would love to get my hands on the new Audio-Technica LP3 with Bluetooth. They don't have any available for reviews right now. So, when you're reviewing turntables, it gets expensive buying all these turntables, and you become at the mercy of the sample stream that's available from the resellers, from the marketing companies, from the manufacturers. And there's a lot of people out there trying to vie for a certain amount of sample units. Jonas, good evening. Another live stream. Always look forward to these. Hey, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for making time. Appreciate it. We're going through Halloween records. Retro Jason says my comments keep being deleted. So I'm not sure why. We have mods. I don't know if any of my mods are in the house right now. They could be. Usually comments are only deleted if they're inappropriate. So I apologize if it's being deleted unnecessarily, but welcome in. Doge Record says 2-speed just for transfers. What should I do to keep post coming? I don't know. Just put my I am not sure why that's happening, Retro Jason. I apologize. It's not me doing it. All right, next Halloween-ish record. This one is probably. Is this the one I'm thinking? Yeah, this is probably the most Halloween-y. So I have a copy of the Walt Disney Haunted House. Hold on a second, you guys. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Okay. Something in the air. I have a copy of that Haunted House. Looks like the Haunted Mansion, but it's not. There's a Haunted Mansion record. I have a cover of it, but with no record in it. I don't know what I did with it. No, I did just reorganize things around here, so it's possible it just got filed in the wrong section. But I didn't, or if it was just a sleeve and I'm like, I don't need an empty sleeve, I could have tossed it. So I wanted to show you guys that. But this one is pretty dang cool. And no, this isn't all going to be about Casper, but check that out. Casper, the friendly ghost. This is a more modern Casper. This looks late 60s or 70s probably to me. Everything I think is 60s is usually 70s. Peter Pan Records again, so the same label. Stereo. This is Peter Pan 8131. Fantastic artwork on there. As you can see, look at that. Look at all that. I love that stuff. I love it. The scariest Halloween ever. Where do you hide in a haunted house? Good luck isn't bad. And the creaky staircase. Little happy pumpkin down there. Very cool stuff. I love this. I love this. Now check out the back. It's got like an activity sheet on the back, which has been used, which is good. I'm glad it was used. On one hand, you're like, oh, I just want, a pristine new record. But on the other hand, to have one that, was loved and appreciated, there's a story behind that. You know what I mean? You're holding a piece of somebody's memories, as it were. Or it's a weird thought. What if somebody had this, completely forgot they had it? They're going around, they're like a trader in Wall Street or something. This was their record and this is their handwriting or whatever. And somewhere buried in their memory is this experience and they don't remember it yet. Maybe they're watching this show. They're like, that was my record. But yeah, this is super cool. I love this stuff. But look at these activities on the back. Look at the artwork. Look at the artwork. Scramble words. Trick or treat. Halloween game. There's a connect the dots. I always thought it was funny as a kid doing these connect the dots. And the stuff that was too hard for the kids to do, they just drew the lines. And a lot of times you could tell what the thing was going to be before you connected the dots. I mean, you could tell this one was probably pretty clearly a witch long before the dots were even thought about. And then a maze. As a kid, my number one favorite activity, like that kind of activity to do, was a maze. So this is cool. Let's look at the record itself. Again, Peter Pan Records. I love kids' labels. Peter Pan, kids' stuff. Let me just dump all my records on the floor. That seems like a good idea. Okay, Too many record players here. I don't have room to set stuff down. Okay, stay there. Don't fall. Okay. Okay. The record itself. You may be saying to yourself, man, it seems like so many records utilize yellow, kids' records specifically. And it is. It's associated with the kids' records. You can see the golden record was golden color, yellow. And when we've talked before ad nauseum about the RCA singles that were color-coded for genre, yellow was the kids' genre. And that was sort of carried, past into other stuff. So this is yet another example of a kid's record that is having a yellow label. These Peter Pan pressings are pretty dang good. This is about 130 gram pressing. It's in remarkable condition. As we saw by the cover, it was used, but there's still some polish on there. You can see the shine at the top there. You got 3 tracks on this side and looks like 1 track on the flip side. So all that's fun stuff. Fun stuff. So yeah, what do you guys think? Does that qualify? I think that's probably the most Halloweenish. Halloweenish sounds better than Halloweeny. What do you think? Record that I have. Although we're not done. I got more. Let's put back. Even the kids' records get sleeves, you guys. In fact, they probably need it more than anything else. I try to keep all of my records sleeved, but there was a time when I, couldn't afford to go buy sleeves. So I'm very thankful that now I have that, even an option. But if you can't, you get creative. You know what I mean? If worst case scenario, use a paper sleeve that comes with a record, or even worst case scenario, just keep the thing clean, and it's better that it's in a cover than nothing. We got more coming. Let's do some comments first. The Nightmare Before Christmas picture disc. That would be a good one. That's a good. I have not seen Nightmare Before Christmas. I know. There's a few things. I always see these things on Facebook. It's like, name something that everybody else loves but you don't, or something everybody else has seen but you haven't. And for me, Nightmare Before Christmas, I haven't seen it. I wouldn't mind seeing it. I know people. It's a cult classic at this point. People love it, but I just personally haven't seen it. So I might have to definitely check that out. Same thing goes with the Hocus Pocus. My wife and I had never seen it as kids, and we went to go see it last year, and we walked out of that show. Just wasn't for us. We just didn't like it. But I know a lot of people are like, it's crazy. It's a great family film, just, one of those things. That being said, I have seen the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay at the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland. We went, early 2000s to Disneyland on a trip that was during October. And I remember seeing that. They only do it at the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland. The Disney World Magic Kingdom one doesn't get that overlay. So if you are going to want to see Haunted Mansion in its Halloween to Christmas time, and you don't want to see the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay, you got to go to the Disney World one in Florida. There are other differences too. They're not identical. Typically, all the attractions in Florida are a bigger version of the California one, with the exception Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean in Florida is considerably larger than Pirates of the Caribbean Pirates of the Caribbean in California is considerably larger than the Pirates of the Caribbean in Florida. Fun fact: when Disney opened up Magic Kingdom in 1971 in Orlando, it didn't originally have the Haunted Mansion because it was thought that was not that big of a deal, and they're like, we would put something else in its place. There wasn't a like for like copy. Although Magic Kingdom is very similar, albeit 2 times larger than Disneyland, it's not identical. And so one of the things they were going to change was it wasn't going to have Haunted Mansion. Well, everybody starts running in the door there, and they're like, where in the heck is Haunted Mansion? It's not there. And so they went back and put it in. It might be no, not Haunted Mansion. That story is true, but it's for Pirates. Pirates wasn't there. So Pirates was not there when they opened Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom in 1971. And everybody ran in and was looking for Pirates. and it wasn't there. So they had to build one, and they didn't have much room in this place that was where it's supposed to be, and that's why it's smaller. Sorry, I confused those two. Hopefully that made some sort of sense. All right, guys, questions, comments, concerns. What else are we thinking? You have the haunted house one. I need to find my copy of that. My kids still love that Casper LP. They've grown up. They're grown women with children who dig it as well. That's cool, RC. That's really, really cool. All right, next one. Okay, no more Casper, I promise. Okay, this is a little bit of a stretch. Again, I didn't have a lot of things that were in this genre, the Halloween genre, but I think that we can stretch. Okay, how about this? Your mind instantly went to Walt Disney, Pete's Dragon, but no. You will notice Disney is not anywhere on here. This is not Disney. It's actually pretty dang good quality for a non-Disney title. Usually, if you have a non-Disney Cinderella or a non-Disney Pinocchio or something, because those are all public domain stories, the artwork is somewhat lacking. You could pretty much tell. But this one is like, wow, they even got the colors and everything, and it's a different dinosaur. It's not like a knockoff of the IP, but at the same time, it's, I'm sure this came out within a year or so of that. But this is Rocking Horse Records and a fantastic, spooky, look at the bones at the bottom, record of Peter, the Flameless Dragon. He's flameless. And other dragon and dinosaur songs. Songs include Peter the Flameless Dragon, the Dancing Dragon, the Tale of Dickie Dragon, Dinah the Dancing Dinosaur, Drag the Magic Puffkin. Drag. Think about that. Because you know the whole story behind Puff the Magic Dragon, that it's not really about a dragon. Drag the Magic Puffin. The Dragon and the Princess, the Dipsy Doodle Dragon, Me and My Dinosaur, Rocking Horse Records, featuring Rocking Horse players and orchestra. There's a gig. Can you imagine? So what do? I'm a bassoon player, professional. I play in the Rocking Horse orchestra. Very respected in the classical community. Yes, I'm an oboe player. Made a living recording some of the finest music in the I forgot it already. Rocking Horse Orchestra. Of course, it's a pickup band. They just hire people, and for this day, they were called that. You know what I mean? For this day, they were called that. The back is cool. Saving cost on some ink by using black and white. And kind of like Little Golden Records, we've got some other titles there. I love how Records always, the front cover is dedicated to what it is. This is what it is. But the back cover, forget about that. Now we want to sell you some more. And the records that do this the most are things like K-Tel, anything that's as seen on TV. Yeah, you got the thing you wanted. But what you really want are these extra titles. It's a gimmick. You know what I mean? It's a gimmick. So, all right, that's that. Now, look at the record. Any predictions on what this thing's going to look like? Oops, I might have just given it away. 33 RPM. Oh, it's a yellow label. Big surprise. It has nothing to do with Peter Pan, nothing to do with, any previous thing we talked about, Little Golden Records, nothing. This is just a yellow label because that's the color for kids' records. And I love on here it says, and by the way, for those of you that are counting, this is Rocking Horse Records 5061-A. And it says right under 33 1/3 RPM, Synthetic Plastics Company of Newark, New Jersey. Synthetic Plastics. Interesting they would put that on there. So the child's father or mother happens to be a bigwig in the plastics industry. And they're like, that's a darn fine piece of plastic right there. Who made this? Oh, Synthetic Plastics. I'm going to give them a call tomorrow morning and see if I can work a deal on some pipe fittings. Who knows? Somebody's like, we need to have our name on there. Because little Timmy and little Susie need to know this information. And then somebody's like, it's not Timmy and Susie. It's Timmy and Susie's parents. They're the decision makers. We need to sell this to them. Anyway, there we go. Peter, the Flameless Dragon. And there's more where that came from. Okay, got two more to share from my collection, and I want to hear about your collection. Any proper tests online for a Fozy 1 phono preamp? I've heard of this, but I've never seen one. I'm not aware of a video. I'm going to look it up. I've been doing this thing lately when you guys bring something up in the chat I don't know about, which is pretty much a lot of stuff. I want to look it up so I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's a good price. See them listed as low as $23. Wow, looks cool. No, I haven't tested it, and I can't tell you by looking at it who makes it. Maybe they make it themselves. Looks good. Gold connections and stuff. I like it. Frequency response store. You know, if Richard, maybe look at their website and see if they have specifications, or just Google the make and model number and the word specifications. That might pull it up. That's a good question. I don't know anybody that's reviewed that before. Maybe someday we will. I'm not sure. All right, next record. I'm going to keep it in the sleeve because it's less reflective that way. 7-inch record. Disneyland Records, my favorite Disneyland label. This sunburst pattern. Such good memories. Look at Winnie the Pooh down there. Isn't that cool? Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day. Now, you may be saying Halloween. What does that got to do with Halloween? It doesn't, but it has to do with fall. So, this is a filler record. So we have something else to talk about here. But, this is fall time. I like fall aside from Halloween. So this to me is a Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day was always one of my favorites. 1978. I love how the Disney records were done with the 7-inch record, 33 RPM, and the large LP label. Just super, super cool. Very nostalgic. I mean, these are things that I had as a kid. So that one is super fun. And I love the little line drawing Winnie the Pooh with the balloon. Very cool stuff. Does that count? I think that counts. And we'll save that one for last. So tell me what else is going on. What other questions you guys have? What other comments you have? What are you up to this weekend? It was very strange traveling in the middle of the week. Usually we travel on the weekend. So I was working remotely while I was out there, and it just felt like a strange week because I was working Monday and Tuesday, off Wednesday for travel, and then working Thursday and Friday. So in a way, it felt like a short week because when I came back on Thursday, that felt like Monday to me. It's just been kind of weird. So I'm here, and it's like Saturday, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing a Saturday now. The weather in the Mile High City has definitely turned cooler. It's quite chilly compared to the way it was. I think we're probably going to stay that way for the most part, although I think it's supposed to get up nearly 75 degrees or so in a couple of days, which would be nice. RC Toombs, Rhino Records, Horror Rock Classics, #1 orange vinyl, jack-o'-lantern shape. I've seen pictures of this. Now that's a real Halloween record. #2, black vinyl, bat shaped. Okay, see, you're outdoing me. Do you have these? Excellent tacks, and they look great on a white acrylic platter. I bet they do. Excellent tracks. That's cool. Stefan says, how do I feel today? I feel great. I feel thankful. And I'm just glad to be here. Tim Allen in the house. Welcome back, Tim. Appreciate it. I got to get caught up on your videos. There's a lot of content out there I just need to be watching right now. I watched The Sandlot for the first time on the plane flying back the other day. Everybody's like, yep, see The Sandlot. It's like the ultimate baseball movie. I really enjoyed it. Really, it was great. It made me laugh. And I started watching the sequels. There's 2 sequels, and no big surprise. They're not quite as good so far. Oh, you actually have those? That's cool. That's really, really neat. That's really, really cool. Yeah, those are super. I mean, that's how much more Halloween can you get? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do my last one. It's not going to be anywhere near that good. This is a bit of a stretch, but it's interesting. It's an interesting record. So remember Peter, the flameless dragon, trying so hard they were not to get sued by Disney and other dragon and dinosaur songs. We'll check this out. Walt Disney's like, hey, we got you better. We got All About Dragons, Puff the Magic Dragon, the Reluctant Dragon, and how to make a do-it-yourself dragon, featuring a quality drawing of a dinosaur dragon thingy that bears no resemblance to Pete's Dragon. This probably predates Pete's Dragon. What year is this? This is 66. What was Pete's Dragon, like 70, 71, something like that? So, maybe it has to do with that more than anything. Disneyland Records. We got the old style up there. This is Disneyland Record DQ 1301. Interesting that it says a Disney record versus Disney Records on the back. We have, interesting, you only see like 3 colors of ink on this. So it was even a budget conscious thing up here. Look at the birds in the tree. I love this. This is so cool. You got the dragon there. Pretty much my body shape. And a knight in shining armor, perhaps. And look how scared that horse is. This is super cool. So what do we got here? All About Dragons. How to make a do-it-yourself dragon. Is it like really instructions? Though there really is instructions. Look at this. A do-it-yourself dragon. Here's what you do, okay? Here's all you need to make a dragon yourself. Because I woke up today, it's like, how am I going to make a dragon? Number 1, round up 2 friends. Round up. Round up 2 friends. 1 for the middle, 2 for the ends. Hey, you said I'm going to be the end of the dragon. Which end am I going to be? 3 large paper bags or cartons. Here, let's go climb into bags. Paper. They did say paper. So they're not climbing into plastic bags. I need to round up Timmy so I can cram him into this trash bag. No, we're not going to do that. Paint a dragon head on one. Paint a body on another. Then paint a tail on the last one. Big surprise. Dragons come in all colors. Some are striped. The head should be fierce and scary. The body should have spiky scales. The tail should come to a point. Cut out holes in the head so you can see. That's probably good. And so you can breathe too. That's probably another good reason. Link the boxes together with string. How funny. 1966. You think about connecting things. String is the first thing that I'm thinking duct tape, packing tape, but string. Put a head in each box. Now go scare somebody. It's just the old days. You know what I mean? The pre-safety, politically correct era. I miss those days. This Disneyland long-playing microgroove unbreakable record can be played only on 33 1/3 RPM instruments. You may be saying, well, duh, why would they even say that? Because kids' records continued on at 78 RPM well into the 50s and even into the 60s a bit. So, they didn't want you sticking this on your tinfoil, or not tinfoil. Got to see one of those, tinfoil phonograph. Very cool. Stick this on your tin children's phonograph. That would be a bad idea. For maximum protection, it should be kept in this protective envelope. Protective envelope. Away from heat. Copyright 1966 Walt Disney Productions. Very cool. There you go. Will it be yellow? Will it be yellow? Let's find out. There you go. Yellow. Disneyland Records. This is an older variant. The Rainbow Burst one that we were looking at is more of a, more of a 70s and 80s style. Look at this. Oh, it has the 2 dots. Side 2 with 2 dots. And then on side 1 with 1 dot. It's kind of an interesting way to represent that. Cool. So that's my collection. I clearly need to find a bat-shaped and pumpkin-shaped record because that sounds too cool for me. That is really, really neat. And you know what? Inevitably, I come across these things when it's not whatever season I pick up some of these good Christmas stuff all year round that I just have to save it. I have to have the foresight to be like, you know what? I really am going to want this come Christmas. And you do the same thing for Halloween and be like, you know what? Someday, somewhere, I'm going to be doing a Halloween show and I'm going to need this. So, yeah. All right. So I put this one back into its, what did it call it? It's the greatest word for a sleeve you've ever heard. Protective envelope. Putting it in its protective envelope. And then in its outer sleeve. And this dollar record from the thrift store is now well protected. And that concludes my collection. Arguably the most interesting is the first one we did, which is this guy, the 6-inch, 78 RPM golden record. Did I just accidentally turn this on? No. Turn off. Okay. I love these things. Okay. You can only imagine what it looks like just off camera. Dancing Caspers at the top there. This thing is also in remarkably good condition. It's got some scratches. A lot of these early golden records featured Mitch Miller. I don't know. Okay, I'll find out later. All right, what else we got? I have the Butch Patrick and Eddie the Monsters single. Eddie and the Monsters single. Yeah, that works. Hey, if a blustery day can be it, then that can be it as well. I want to have Harman Kardon T60 turntable. Harman Kardon T60 turntable. All right, looking it up. Wow, I want to have a Harman Kardon T60 turntable too. Wow, look at the platter on that thing. I love it. It's very early 80s, late 70s. That is so cool. Huh. Thanks for the tip. I love it. Wow, they make some interesting stuff. I'm looking at a T30 too. 700 for the T60 with its box. Wow. That's weird. I usually don't see too much old Harman Kardon stuff. That's cool. Bela Lugosi's Dead 12-inch single. I've heard of that. Stefan says, I like dragons. There was a dragon who wanted to be a firefighter. It's an old TV series. I think I remember that too. Bradley says, do you have any plans to test the flagship Victrola turntable? You're talking about that $800 one? We were just talking about that a little while ago. If you weren't here, check out the replay because I think it's cool and it's probably fine. I hope they didn't use a plastic platter. But if I had $800 to spend on a turntable, probably wouldn't be that one. So, and I probably won't be reviewing it because Victrola is not speaking to me at the moment. RC Tomb says I have a dupe of Rhino's Christmas Rocks 4-song EP. That's cool. Christmas tree shaped? Yes, I do want that. A Christmas tree shaped record? Absolutely. That would be a huge blessing. Thank you, RC. That's awesome. That's super kind. Thank you. That's super kind. Stefan says T30 looks not that clean with the button on front. T60 was better. Very interesting. Stefan says, I have a question. What do you do with all the turntables? Return them? Store them? Sell them? Have a huge collection in the basement? Yes to all of those except for the first one. We don't return turntables. Now, a lot of companies do this thing where they give you a loaner unit. I have never done that, and I will never do that. Why? Because I don't want the liability of somebody else's turntable. There was a couple of times early days on the channel where I borrowed friends' turntables, and I just about destroyed my friend's dual turntable. Made a great show. My dual with the dual turntable video. Check that out. What I did was I put it in the back of our truck. It wasn't a pickup truck, it's an SUV, but I put it behind the rear axle, which is a big no-no. So even though I was driving, not like a maniac, the thing was enough vibrations and enough bouncing that it rattled the thing apart. And I had to look at diagrams that, were incredibly finite and detailed to get that thing back together. It took weeks. My friend was not having it. He was kind of pissed, but very generous at the same time. And borrowed a couple things. We reviewed a Marantz, a linear turntable that was a loaner from a friend, and an LP60. The first LP60 we did was a loaner too. I was like, the liability is such that it's not worth it. So I don't want somebody else's turntable because I don't trust myself enough. I mean, I bump stuff, I drop stuff. I mean, I was just telling you, I destroyed my LP3's dust cover. I don't want to do that to a friend's unit, and that would be, I don't want to be that guy. Second thing is, if it's product for a company, and I don't want this to sound rude or arrogant because it's not intended to be that way, but if I'm reviewing product from a customer or from a company, then they're not getting that back. And the reason why is that there is a certain amount of brand equity in what we do here, or not in brand equity, in advertising equity in what we do here. So if we review your product, even if it gets a bad review, it's still getting press, it's still getting publicity, it's still getting views. So that's a lot. There's a lot of value to be had there. I don't need to be sending your products back to you from a liability standpoint or from the standpoint of, we're providing all the, I'm not going to do a free video. At the same time, we don't accept payment for reviews. That would be not good. Like, we've never taken a dime from a company to review their product. Never done it, never will. We receive product samples, but it doesn't influence, clearly, our reviews, which is why Victrola isn't speaking with us, because, we got a product sample, it sucked, and we said it, and they didn't like that. But we're going to be honest at the end of the day. So it is something that we hold true to. So we don't send products back for those two reasons right there. And so I do have a lot in storage. We have sold turntables, and everybody that is a friend or family member of mine has been given at least one turntable. And people that don't even need a record player have one because of me. So, and we give them away on the show too. We gave away 2 giant stacks of turntables last Christmas to celebrate. Santa Claus himself appeared on Christmas Day Vlogmas last year, 2021, and he picked. I think we're doing a contest like we usually do for Vlogmas, and he picked the winner, and they got a turntable, but everybody that entered also got one. So we give away something like 10 or 12 record players in boxes, some of them brand new, to viewers. In fact, Tim Allen got one. He was one of the recipients. We've given away a lot of record players. We do giveaways. That's probably where most of them go. And if they're unique enough that it would, make sense to keep it on the show, then we keep it in storage. He did. Yep, absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 1 hour and 8 minutes of your time that I'm very thankful for. I appreciate you making time to be here. I just want you guys to know that the hype is real. Yes, it is. Absolutely, Steve. I just want you to know how much I appreciate you being here on the channel. If you guys haven't done so already, go watch the 2-part video. I put up the second part last night of our tour of the amazing Willy Wonka of record players and phonographs, Kurt Knock of Knox Auctions and 78rpm.com. A great new friend that we just recently met. He not only gave us that tour, but he gifted us a number of cool things that we're going to be featuring on the show. So I'm so incredibly excited for that and to share that with you, including an antique children's phonograph. Did a hint about what that one was a couple days ago in a short. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. Happy record hunting. Happy Vlogtober. The videos will keep coming tomorrow, the next day, and the next day. Thank you for being here. Happy record hunting, guys. See you later.